Whew, hello again, friends. My apologies to those of you that caught that unfortunate snippet just a few minutes ago. So sorry. Still having trouble getting myself all strapped in here, aren't I? All right, there we go. I think live video at its very best. That's what we do around here. All right, my name's Dan. You can ignore that part. And this is Daily Art Adventure number 624, Finishing Touches. Now, I don't know how long this episode's going to be. I hope it's not going to be very long, because I hope I'm not going to be working on this painting for a long time. I'm nearly finished. In fact, let me pick you up at the risk of doing bad things. All right, I want to, and honestly, that looks horrible on my monitor.
This internet connection isn't reliable at the moment.
Huh. Let's see. Did you hear that? All right, so here is some of what it looks like. That color is terrible. There we go. That's better, good color, but real bad glare. This is my city skyline, Raleigh, North Carolina. This painting is 4 by 6 feet, 48 by 72. The view is from Dix Hill, Dorothea Dix, D-I-X, Dorothea Dix Hill. And I've done this view many times, never done it as a twilight evening scene like this. And again, I'm going to turn off that light to cut down the reflection. Understand that the color you're looking at right now is not very accurate, but that gives you the composition. All right, so the big question is here. The big question is, so what am I going to do, or to put it to all of you artists, what does one do? What should... There, we missed a little bit of audio. What should we do in finishing up a painting? The first thing is what you see me doing right now. Fold your hands and pray. No, think. Look, look and think. And of course, this is what I'm doing now would never need to be done in a very realistic, photorealistic, hyper-realistic, real tight realistic painting. In that kind of painting, you're just looking for anything that's not perfectly photographic and fixing it. That's certainly not what I'm doing here. So what I'm doing now is a lot more, interpretive than that. Let me tell you a little bit about yesterday. I darkened the sky considerably. The painting got way better when I darkened the sky. Then I also darkened all of this area, and the painting got considerably better also when I darkened. Let me show you the bottom there. When I darkened all of that area. Again, I'll turn this off and on so you can see. You're still getting glare from the windows behind me, but that lets you see a little bit better. I am quite happy with the painting, first of all. Oh, and I took it to my painters group, my illustrious partners in art. Some of us have been meeting together for 15 years in Raleigh, and I trust some of them. I trust their judgment very much, and they gave me an enthusiastic thumbs up on this painting. Said, don't touch it, you're done. Well, I am going to touch it, but not much, not so anybody would notice. So let me talk about what kind of things I'm looking for. First of all, the composition, I think, works well Composition. Composition refers to the major light and dark zones in a painting, semicolon. Either the major light or the major dark zones should be describable. This is one way to think of a good composition. Should be describable in a single word. And in this case, the light zones, which because it's a Twilight painting, the light zones are hello, Uncle 60. Good to hear from you again. Glad to hear that fuzz worked. The major light zone is a big, it's all right there, but then it trickles down to here and then trickles down to here. So I'm not sure what to call it. Like yesterday I called it maybe a capital J or a fish hook or a bum, 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 bum. But all the light areas in this painting are contiguous, are touch. So that's a good indication that the composition. So I'm happy with the composition. I'm happy with the accuracy of the rendering. I'm happy with the playful color. Let me pick you up again for just a minute. Let me see if I can do this without unplugging you, because then we run into problems. A nice close up of my face. I particularly like the way that abstract blue. I have two blue swooshes there and there that have nothing to do with realism, but they work very nicely. Let me see. Anything else I'm particularly proud of? A little. Broken color, bits of broken color like the green in there and these pink colors, orange here. Again, green. On this, for instance, on this building alone, we have kind of a blush orange, green, blue, and of course a brown building. That's kind of nice. All right. That's what I like. Yes, Uncle 60. I don't know what they call you anymore, Horatio. It is going to hang indoors. All right, let me tell you a couple things I'm sure that I'm going to do. Okay? So been thinking about this one. And let me move you again so you can see. Let's talk about this area over here. So the last thing I did, sorry for the earthquake. Again, my Mevo camera is out being repaired. The last thing I did in all of this was just a heavy glaze, dark green, purple, blue, brown glaze, and I like it much better. However, if you follow me much, you've heard me say that anytime you darken your canvas, that means that's just the wind up, the preparatory motion. The follow-up in that is to come back with light. I am going to do that. So I'm going to do a little bit of light. Now, the word light in this case has to be in quotation marks because it's going to be a very, very dark light. What I'm trying to do right now over on my palette is I'm trying to mix up a color of dark, dirty green that matches some of the lighter colors in here, and maybe just like as I say, one tick lighter, one tick brighter than what's already there. So, yeah, okay, that's good. I don't know if you can even see that. I'm not going to do much of this, but just a little bit of hard edge brush strokes. Now you remember my mantra, one of the things that I say all the time is that it's real easy for a painting to have too many hard edges, right? Almost impossible to have too many soft edges. Very easy to have too many hard edges. So here I am. What am I putting on the canvas right now? The answer is hard edges. What does that mean? That means I proceed with great caution and I don't do too many. In fact, I think I just did too many. No problem. It's wet. I come in here and I can soften a bunch of those. Okay? So the reason for what I'm doing right here is because, and this gets very esoteric, subtle, intuitive, hard to define, but there's a real fine line between loose and unfinished. Real fine line. You do not want to give the viewer the sense that you just quit midstream. You just said, good enough, and walked away from it, which is real easy to do as an artist. So just these few marks that I've put down, in fact, picking up a pencil right here, these few marks that I'm putting down right here of hard edges, not much, just a very few, lets the viewer rest, if you will, and say, oh, okay, good. He meant to do that. He or she meant to do that. That was on purpose. Now I'm mixing up a little bit of, without cleaning my brushes, I'm mixing up a little bit of dioxazine, violet, purple on these dirty brushes because there's a faint line in here. Let me see if I've got the right color. Ooh, yeah, very good. And that's not me bragging, that's me going, whew, that was lucky. Okay, when I say very good, that means I created the color I wanted. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to that, ultramarine blue. So again, I'm matching what's already there and just coming in and doing a few little edges, just a few marks to tip the scale from unfinished to loose. Loose is good, unfinished is bad. And just these few little touches of, again, really it's hard edge brush strokes. And they don't have to be all hard. So the top of that stroke is a bit of an edge, and the bottom of that stroke is very soft. I just softened it with my finger, as you can see. That's probably enough. You've seen me do it all. That's enough. Now there's one of my crazy oil stick, which if you've followed me, just in the last 6 months, maybe less than that. No, 6 months. I started using these, and usually I use them just for pure abstract marks. And I don't know if you can see this. You may not be able to even detect it on your monitor, but there's a pale orange-red line that goes across there. And again, probably did it with this. And has absolutely, you understand, has absolutely nothing to do with realism, right? I keep saying that. That's because some of you need to keep hearing it. So now I've just, without cleaning my brushes, I've just added a little bit of Scarlet Lake red. I'm trying to match this color. So what am I going to do? I'm going to, well, let's see first of all if it's the right color. I'm gonna add some orange to that. All right. And I don't usually erase my practice marks, but I'm gonna push that one down. Now, what am I gonna do with that red curve? I'm simply going to give it some playmates. I'm going to give it some partners. That is, I'm going to give this red mark other red marks very close to it. In this case, actually overlapping with it. What does that do? And again, this still has nothing to do with realism. Do you understand? Are these both in your screen? Yep. Has nothing to do with realism. I don't know if you can see it better with the light on or off. No, I think you can see it better with the light on. Okay, so we're not talking realism here. This is all pure abstraction. But by adding these, and that's probably enough. I just added 2 marks there, 1, 2, 3, and 1 there. I called it, I've never used that term before, I created playmates for that red mark by adding other red-ish marks close to it. What that does is that tells the viewer that the artist did this on purpose. So now this completely random abstract mark says to the viewer, no, I did this, which of course I did. I did it on purpose. It's there. Let me point you at me for a minute then. So we're getting into some pretty deep psychology of art. I'm going to go ahead, while I'm talking, go ahead and clean off these brushes. I think I'm going to switch colors here. Psychology of art. If the viewer, my paintings, now, you understand, I don't expect any viewer to process all of this consciously. This is all subconscious. They're not even aware of their own feelings. Do you understand? They're not aware of what they're thinking. That's not their job. Their job is just to look and receive and be caught up in a swirl of unconscious and subconscious impressions. It's my job to know what those unconscious and subconscious impressions are. Okay, so when a viewer now looks at that little part of my painting, it says to him or her, the artist did this on purpose. And here's what that does to, if you will, here's what that does to the soul of the viewer. The soul then relaxes. The viewer goes, oh, the artist did that on purpose. I can relax. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't, what happened? It was the artist did that on purpose. Therefore, they relax. And in that relaxed state, some part of their brain sometimes turns these marks into something. Other times just says, okay, good. I kind of like that mark. That's how I want them to feel. I want them to feel, I kind of like that mark. That's the bottom line. All right, a few comments here. Uncle 60 is fine. Thank you. All right, continue then. Let's do just a little bit more of that. And again, it would be very easy for me to overdo this. I don't want too much. In fact, I picked up a rag because I just feel like just in the last couple of minutes, now I've done a little bit too many hard edges. Easy fix. Do you see how this is why I like oil. Easy fix. All right. Now, again, there's an abstract blue streak. Already got it there. No, I think that's good enough. Oh, I know. There's a tiny bit of bright green up here. And I think if I just, again, give it a one piece of playmate, one friend that supports it, it will be adequate. Yep, good enough. I don't know if you can even see this. Abstract green mark, and I just added a green dot beside it. And then I smeared out the mark there. That's good enough. Do you see how subtle that is? Now, let's look at, let's go over here now. This row of houses, you're getting a good tour of my studio there, aren't you? This row of houses is almost finished, but not quite. Again, there's a fine line between loose and unfinished. You don't want the viewer to feel like the artist just walked away prematurely. And what will fix that, what will keep that from happening, is just a few dots, bits, strokes that look intentional. So they tend to be more hard edge, more carefully placed. If I make these marks fairly slowly, you see, then they will look as though they were made slowly. Does that make sense? Because, of course, this is every mark you make on the canvas or on the paper if you're drawing, every mark is a history, leaves a clear, one might even say indelible history of human movement. I'm the human, in this case being me, and the movement being what I'm doing with the brushes. So if I make a mark that is slow and methodical, careful, it's going to look like a person made a mark slowly and methodically, which of course is correct. And that slow and methodical, of course, bears the connotation of finished or intentionality. And that's I've probably done enough. So you see me do just a tiny bit. There's a lot of really fun green in here. I'm going to go back to mix up a green here. Okay. A green, the word green covers such a wide range of colors. So I've got a kind of a yellowish green, I think, right here. Again, an intentional mark. You see that just that tiny little square, because I'm actually using a flat brush, which is pretty unusual for me. Let's do one more right here. Do you see how subtle this is? So while I've been talking to you, I can still count them. In this house area, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 marks. And that's probably enough. I say that, and then look, I can pick up my hand to do one. Okay, 8 marks. Just a very few intentional marks. Tips the scale from unfinished to, oh no, finished. He, the artist, meant to do that. I just seeing a good place for a mark right there. It communicates, again, subconsciously. Again, I don't expect the viewer to process any of this out loud, consciously. No, that is not their job. Their job is just to be caught up in a swirl of impressions. They have no idea why they're having these impressions. It's my job, your job as the artist, to create this sensation in the viewer. It's not their job to know what they're experiencing. Does that make sense? It is our job as the artist to predict what it is they're going to experience. All right, let me back you up. I'm backing up myself to get a long view at my painting. Hey, Marlene, good to hear from you again. Yes, and by the way, Marlene, I got your comment yesterday. What was it? Oh my goodness, I remembered it so well. And now that I've said it, I forget. Anyway, I enjoyed your comment yesterday afternoon. I'll remember it here in a minute. I'll remember it as soon as I hang up. Always good to hear from you. And good, I'm glad that your son enjoys the psychology of art. I'm playing a little dangerous here. I'm in danger of doing too much. This is what my friends last night at my painters group, monthly painters group, said. No, don't touch it. This is what they don't want me to do. Oh, I know. There was at least one more part of my painting that I'm aware of. Well, look at my easel is stuck. There we go. And that's just a tiny detail. This might be the last thing I do in this painting besides sign it. And that is this building over here. I don't need brushes with green on them, that's for sure. By the way, somebody the other day was at my studio visiting my house, and they commented on all the brushes that I have here. I do have a lot of brushes. I'm a creature of habit. I tend to use only 20 or 30 of them over and over, 30 or 40, but they're there if I want them. And why does an artist need so many? An artist doesn't need so many brushes, but why do I keep buying brushes? And of course, I paint with two hands most of the time. I almost pick up two. Like here's a round, and here's a filbert. Filbert is by far the shape that I use the most. But I am using brushes of different size and shape because variety is one of the highest values in visual art. So so having different shaped brushes automatically forces you to make different shape marks. All right, so that's why I've heard, I think online somewhere have read maybe more than once where some young artist boasts of the fact that they did this entire painting with the same brush. Well, that might be an interesting, can you see over my shoulder? No, hang on. That might be an interesting exercise, but it's not necessarily a good idea or good art. So what I'm doing on this building is the same thing I did over there in the green area. The building, I think, right at where it is right now, feels a little bit too much like unfinished. It doesn't just look loose, it looks like the artist walked away prematurely. All right? So maybe just those marks that I've made in those few minutes might be enough. I think it is. I'm going to do one more simple thing, and that is I'm going to do you see I did a little bit of dirty orange up here yesterday? I'm just coming back now with a slightly lighter version of that orange. There we go. Too much. There we go. There we go. All right, I think that's good enough. Now the building looks loose. I think I've tipped the scale from, which way to go? From unfinished to loose. Loose is good, unfinished is bad. I think I've just tipped it back the other way. This building right here suffers from the same ailment, I think. As it is right now, it just looks unfinished, as if the artist walked away prematurely. But just a mark, one, that's it. That's all I need to do. And now I've tipped the scale again from unfinished to loose. We want our paintings to be loose. We don't want them to look unfinished. Real fine line, real subtle difference. And of course, you could drive yourself crazy. and typically what happens is you end up doing too much of this kind of thing. So I'm really trying to ride the brakes here, really trying to be very cautious. Am I on camera? Yeah. And of course, I guess if there was a scale, let's put unfinished, loose, overworked. A real fine line between all of those. Unfinished, loose, overworked. And of course, I don't want to tip over into overworked. That's the danger that I'm I'm dancing with danger right now by doing these little things. So I'm going slowly, I'm going carefully. That's right. There was one more area. Let me move you back over here now. There was one other area that I think this will probably be the last one, and that is up here in the sky. The tree. Some of the sky holes, which should be called tree holes, of course, not sky holes. I didn't really come and do any hard-edged ones in here. And I think if I can just do a couple, again, it'll tip the scales away from unfinished and just leave it looking like a loose painting, but not looking like an unfinished painting. So just a few, and the color, the marks, am I on camera? Oh, my head's in the way, sorry about that. So I hope you're seeing what few means. what I mean by just a few marks. It's literally just a few marks. That is very, very serious about that. See, just a few intentional, slow marks. If they are slow, they'll look slow. If you make them in a slow manner, they will look as though they were made in a slow manner. Remember, the art of painting or drawing is the art of making interesting marks. Every mark you make leaves an indelible history of that movement, of the movement that made the mark. Whoops, that's a little bit bright. I might be able to get away with it if I just do a few others. All right, I think that's enough. I'm going to soften this one. Again, the joy of oil painting is you can come in and move things, mark things like that. Likewise, I'm going to take a pencil and just do a little bit. Very unconventional to use pencils in oil paintings. I say that almost every time I pick up a pencil, okay? In case you're thinking, wait a minute, you don't use pencils. I know. And you all know it's Jumbo Jet Black by Jerry's Artorama. It's sort of like a grease pencil, not as greasy as a grease pencil, but all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think I better call it quits. Let me raise this up. You see, yesterday, all these street lights, all these spots of light that I did in here. There is a principle of painting. I put it this way: if something is easy to do, or if something is fun to do, be careful not to do too much of it. So these streetlights were a lot of fun, and it would have been really easy to do too much of it. So I tried to pull back on the reins, ride the brake. Let me mix a few more metaphors in there. Tried to go real slow and just do enough, but not too many. And again, in these bits of light, I would put down a piece of wet paint and then wipe it with a rag, sometimes 2 or 3 different times, and then come back and put another fresh daub of paint on that and leave it. That's pretty standard procedure for me. Oh, I see a spot. I see a little tiny bit that needs fixing. And it's at the top of this building. It got covered up by blue glaze, and it just needs, there we go, just needs to look a little bit clean there. All right, that's it. Let me see your comments, you guys. I appreciate you leaving chats while we're here. Uncle 60, beer money. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. So Super Chat, Uncle 60 is showing you guys how to do that. If you appreciate what I do, thank you. Thank you, Horatio. You're too kind. I appreciate it. First of all, he says his brain hurts, and then he sends me $5. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And make not art, not war. Good explanation. Thank you. You're new, aren't you? I don't think I recognize your name. Good to have you on board today. And Uncle 60 says, thanks for lesson 627, which I haven't got to yet. And then I already mentioned Marlene says her son is a psychologist and enjoys the psychology of art. Glad to hear it. And Uncle 60 says, I tried these marks, but my mistake was I did an over opaque mark when I did more translucent. Yeah, that's right. So sometimes if it's too opaque, come back and do translucent and you can fix that. Good observation. And Marlene, you can't remember what you said. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. Whatever it was you said. We both know. It was brilliant. I can go back and look. So can you. Oh, good, Marlene. I think it was related to the isthmus. I think it was related to the isthmus statement. That's worth repeating, just real quickly, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, since Marlene brings it up again. An isthmus is a narrow piece of land between two bodies of water. I'm just using that as an analogy, okay? I had a light area up here, and I had a mid-tone light area here. My composition got stronger when I created this little isthmus of light that connected the two. And then I did the same thing because my last area of mid-tone, quote unquote, light, it's not very light, but compared to the context, it's light. So again, I created this little isthmus of light. And yesterday, again, I gave credit to my friend Mike Rooney. You can Google him. He's a painter like myself. I don't think he does video, at least not much, but you can find his work. He's the one that enlightened me to this concept of connecting, and the word I usually use is contiguous. All Americans know what contiguous means because in America we have 48 contiguous touching states, and then Alaska and Hawaii are separate. So if we make our lighter dark zones contiguous, even by just a skinny bit, it often improves the composition. And I do believe it really helped with this painting. So that's what Marlene is referring to and says, good, that it helped her with a current painting that she's working on. Good for you. Well, thanks, guys. I hope I can do another broadcast later today because I have a small painting, 36 by 48. The commission that I can get work on. All right, Uncle 60 says, is the bottom left area all bushes and trees? It is hard to see. It's very hard to see. Yeah, let me pick you up again for a minute. You? Yeah, and on my monitor, this doesn't look at all realistic. It's very, very, very dark. I wonder how I can get that to look dark. No, it's so funny. At least on my monitor, all I'm getting is reflection from windows behind me. There, that's how dark it is. And even that is getting reflection from my hand because the paint is very shiny. But it's a very dark green. And you know what? You bring up a good point. Hang on. Okay, hang on. We're in trouble. I think that would be that corner right there. Might be an area. Plug my microphone back in, and that area right there. At least this would be a good teaching point. Okay, so thank you for mentioning that, Uncle 60. Let me clean some brushes real quick. I'm getting quite a stack of dirty brushes. Let's pick two of the larger ones here. Again, so I've got picked out two brushes. They are both filbert, but they're different sizes. And oh, good, I still have some dark green left here on my palette. Let's mix up a little bit more. I want very, very dark green. That's very important. Let's see how many varies I can get in one sentence, shall we? Okay, now the idea is whatever's on my brushes, I want it to be slightly lighter. Oh, and fail. It's not any lighter at all. It's exactly, but this is easy. It's an easy fix. It's exactly the color that's there. So I'm going to add a little bit of, not white, but, oh, now it's too bright. Now it's too light, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna mix some more. I add a little bit of Naples yellow to that. Now, forgive me, and it was too much. So now I am mixing again. I want to come up with a green color, and then that's too light. In fact, again, I don't usually wipe off my quote-unquote mistakes, but I am going to wipe off that one. Okay, so what you're seeing here for you beginners is what we all do. Again, that's too bright. You probably can't even see it. I'm sorry about that. When I get it the color I want, you might not even be able to see it. It needs to be just slightly lighter than what's already there. That's good, but the color's not right. So let me add some blue to that. And it does, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. And again, forgive me, you probably can't even see these marks. But you see, that movement that I just made right there was very slow and deliberate. Therefore, it leaves a history of, if you will, slowness and deliberateness. And that changes this corner from, I don't want to do too many of them, it changes this corner from unfinished to loose. Loose is good, unfinished is bad. I'm glad you mentioned that, Uncle 60, because that was an area that it really benefited from just a little bit. Another word that I use is energy. This area just needed just a little bit more energy. You can probably see that stroke right there, which means it's in danger of being too intense. But there, I've backed it out, and now all is well. All right, I'm glad you mentioned that, Horatio, because that helped the painting a little bit. All right, hang on, let me get you so you guys don't fall over. Oh, good, you guys can't see it. Excellent, very good. All right, I'm gonna call that quits. I'm gonna sign it, and I hope to do another broadcast later today. Thanks so much for your chats, I enjoy it all. Oh, Jack Strop, a new person, new viewer, says, does anyone remember the painting by Rembrandt entitled The Abortionist? What? No, I don't know that. We'll have to look it up. Thank you, Jack. Interesting topic. All right, end of broadcast. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy very much. Thanks for your company. And again, hope to be back doing another broadcast. I don't know, maybe soon.